The Iron Golem gives poppies, and the blades killed its own creators? Here's one fact about each Minecraft mob. Notch once said that the Enderman is actually a subtle reference to the Slenderman, which is similar looking to the Enderman and also has a similar name. An evoker can cast a unique spell that turns a blue sheep into a red one, and you hear a wolololo sound being made, which is a direct reference to the priest conversion sound in the game of Age of Empires. The Iron Golem gives poppies to little baby villagers, and this habit of his is a direct homage to Studio Ghibli's 1986 film Laputa, Castle in the Sky, where an ancient robot guardian hands a flower to a child. This reference even shows in the Iron Golem's design that its vines growing all over it, which is similar to the overgrown look of the robot in the movie. Lead designer of Minecraft, Jens Bjergensen himself once confirmed that the guardian's design was directly inspired by some classic floating eyeball monsters from other games, specifically the beholders from Dungeons & Dragons and the cacodemons from Doom. Do you know the reason behind the poison and contact mechanic for the pufferfish? The pufferfish in the game is modeled after real-life pufferfish, whose spikes do not actually inject venom. The poison is concentrated in its organs and skin, which is also the mechanic used for the Minecraft pufferfish. There is no way for mobs with no ranged attack to provoke a Ravager except by damaging with a projectile or after the Ravager specifically roars at the mob. If you take the game's ambient cave sound cave14.ogg, which is basically the weird background noise you hear in the caves, and view it on an audio spectrogram, it would visually render as the face of a creeper's. Creepy, right? Just like the real-life honeybees we know, the bees in Minecraft also die shortly after using their stinger to attack a player. During early Minecraft development, armadillos actually had eyes placed on top of their head instead of the side like we see now. Mojang changed his design within a month just to make the mob feel more personal to the players. There was foreshadowing of this mob being a part of the game years before it was actually added. There was an official taking inventory article on Minecraft.net that had already made it clear that according to the game's lore, nautiluses already existed in the Minecraft world at some point but had gone extinct. A silverfish can burrow into simple blocks like cobblestone or stone, and then these would become infested blocks, which look pretty much similar to the original blocks. These infested blocks can be pretty dangerous though, as even mining of them triggers an ambush. But there's a bright side to this, as mining it with a silk touch tool safely removes the infestation. Phantoms are basically an undead mob, so they are healed by harmful potions like the splash potion of farming, and because of this, they take damage from healing potions like the splash potion of healing. There is a hidden hostile rabbit in the game which is called the Killer Bunny. It is white in color with red eyes and exists as a Monty Python joke which only spawns through commands now. If you drag a hoglin out of the nether into the overworld, it would rot into a zoglin within seconds. Its charge will throw you high into the air, and the only way to repel them is by warp fungi and nether portals. Pandas are the only mob in the game with real genetics, so they carry hidden traits like lazy, worried, playful, or weak. So a lazy panda would just lay on its back, and a weak panda would sneeze a lot, which is a 0.1% chance of making it drop a slime ball. Deep in the files of the game, the shulker is actually named the City Golem before Mojang renamed it and reintroduced it in the game. The name shulker itself comes from the words shell and lurker. An endermite will despawn within 2 minutes, regardless of your distance from it. The only case in which it doesn't happen is if you name tag your endermite. A husk will only inflict its signature hunger effect when attacking completely empty-handed. If it happens to be holding any item at all, be it a weapon or a tool, its punches no longer cause hunger. Piglin brutes are one of the only mobs of the game that are hostile towards the wither itself, and they'll also attack wither skeletons on sight. Also, unlike regular piglins, gold does nothing to calm them, and they can't be bartered with or distracted at all. When it was just in its early developmental stages, the Warden began as a completely different concept and was called the Shade. This one was designed around hallucinations, and it also went through some other versions like the Stalker, which could rearrange its limbs to squeeze through gaps. Another concept was the Hollowed, which was based on trypophobia, which is the fear of too many clustered holes. Finally, it came into being the Warden we know now. The default face texture we see of the zombie is literally just a recolored copy of Steve's default player skin instead of being an original design. This also shows the original idea of the game that zombies were once normal, ordinary players. If you take some tadpole in a bucket and set it free in a biome of your choice according to temperature, you can choose exactly exactly which colored frog it grows into. This is the only mob baby that is coded different from its adult form. Piglins only get angry at a player for opening a chest if the player does it right in front of them while they watch. So if you just sneak around a corner or block their line of sight, you would be able to loot chests in the nether without provoking them at all. There are 35 possible horse coat combinations in the game, with 7 base colors and 5 marking patterns multiplied with each other, and the appearance of the horse never charges, and the appearance of the horse never changes once it has been tamed. A wild fox never trusts you. The only way to get a fox that trusts you is by making 2 foxes breed, as their baby fox will be born trusting you. You might think that the Enderman is the first and only mob in the game who is capable of teleporting, but that's not it. The wolf, ever since it was added to the game in 2011, has had the ability of teleporting to its owner over long distances, making it capable of teleportation before any other mob in the game. Every turtle in the game remembers the exact block where it was spawned, so when you breed them with seagrass, the pregnant turtle will always swim back to the exact beach where it spawned to lay its own eggs, just like real sea turtles. The original texture file for the zombie pigman contained a hidden text that read "the Xaphobia" written on an unused section of the image. This was not just personal thank you credit to Xaphobia, who is the artist who's designed the skin. This mob was named Bogged as a pun on the common idiom bogged down, which refers to something that is stuck or slowed down by something difficult. And it fits the mob because the poison arrows of the Bogged slow and wear down the player over time. The very first time that you kill the Ender Dragon, it drops around 12,000 XP, which is more than enough to literally take you from 0 to level 68. Even if you respawn after that or kill it more times, only the first one leaves you with this much XP and a single dragon egg as a keepsake. Well, the Ender Dragon might give less XP later, but if you subscribe to our channel, you are guaranteed to have more and more fun watching more of our content. This mob wasn't actually designed for the main game. It first came up as a mob in the mobile spin-off of the game, Minecraft Earth, before making it into the main game as we see it now. In hard mode, spiders can spawn with hidden potion effects like invisibility, which makes it look pretty creepy. So if you sometimes just see a pair of glowing eyes coming at you and feel weirded out, those are actually just spiders. You cannot really trap effects because they have the ability to fly straight through any solid block, and this includes bedrock and lava, without taking any damage at all. So, in Minecon Earth 2018, Jeb announced that players could vote for a 9th cat skin to be added, and a YouTuber called Good Times with Scar won the contest with their cat Jelly. So, Jelly was added as a cat in the village and pillage update, making it the second community-suggested mob variation that actually made it to the game after the rabbit skin Toast. Despite being swamp skeleton cousins, unlike the Bogged, a parch never converts into a stray even if it stands in powdered snow. It just takes ordinary freezing damage instead. The rate of spawning for slime is directly related to the in-game lunar cycle of Minecraft. They spawn a lot more during a full moon night and are almost entirely unable to spawn during a new moon. Putting a Johnny name tag on any Vindicator in the game makes it turn hostile towards almost every mob in the game. This is a reference to Jack Nicholson's "Here's Johnny" scene in The Shining. Also, it can never be ordered to attack itself if a raid captain is giving orders during a raid. The Wither is the only mob in the game that is capable of destroying obsidian. Every time it takes damage, it breaks all the blocks in a 3x4x3 area around itself. This even includes blast-resistant blocks like obsidian and ancient debris. Pillagers were actually the first mob ever in the game who would wield a crossbow, so they were also the first source from which players could get one as well. A pillager whose crossbow is taken away or broken becomes passive permanently, and it will never attack anyone again. Salmon are coded to swim upwards in small waterfalls that are roughly 4 to 5 blocks against the current. This is a reference to real-life salmon that streams upwards for migration. The in-game sounds for the dolphin were not made artificially. The lead designer of Mojang, Samuel Aberg, traveled to Kolmården Wildlife Park in Sweden to record real-live dolphins for the audio of their mob in the game. They did the same for pandas as well. You know how the bat is one of the only mobs in that game that doesn't drop anything and also doesn't breed? Well, if it's so useless, why was it even added in the game? That was just for ambience and to make the caves feel more alive by hanging upside down from cave ceilings and flying around. The magma cube is the only mob in the nether that can actually swim despite spawning in the nether itself. Other nether mobs like the piglins and the hoglins sink and drown in water, while blazes, endermen, or striders all take instant damage from it. Jeb once said that he would add bears to the game when he and his wife had a bear of their own. So when his son was born, he was named Bjorn, which means bear in Swedish, and polar bears were added to the game as a a personal tribute by Jeb to celebrate his birth. The snow golem never drops a carved pumpkin that is used in its creation when it dies. It only drops snowballs, even though the pumpkin sits on its head as a helmet of sorts the entire time it's alive. Mojang had an official snapshot note for the creaking that read, "Beware of its sole inhabitant and don't blink," which is a direct and confirmed reference to the weeping angels from Doctor Who, as the creaking also can only move when no player is directly looking at it. The alley is the only mob that you can copy without having to breed it. Give a dancing alley an amethyst shard near a jukebox and you will see that it clones itself. The Happy Gash is the largest passive mob in the game. He is even bigger than the camel and is able to carry other mobs and even boats through the air using leads. Zoglin is famous for being a bit too angry and attacking every mob that it encounters. For some reason, it just completely ignores the creepers. How scary can they be? Mojang animator Jasper Oborstra once confirmed that the hooded cow texture of the witch was sitting unused in the game's file for years, and it never got rendered until a villager model system update finally displayed it. You know those rare screaming goats that ram you nonstop? Ever wondered what those screaming noises are? They are the actual recordings of the sound designer Samuel Aberg screaming, as confirmed by one of the developers in Mojang in a Caves and Cliffs Discord interview. So Jeb once said that the Elder Guardians were introduced to the game to simply encourage the players to solve the temple maze instead of digging through it easily. He also said that the jump scare by an Elder Guardian is completely unintentional and it just provides a visual cue for why players tend to get slowed down by mining fatigue. Striking a mushroom with lightning doesn't hurt it at all, but instead it just flips its color between red and brown. This is the only known case of lightning being used simply as a mob recolor mechanic in the game. Skeleton horses can actually fall up to 6 blocks before they begin to take fall damage, which is literally the double of most other mobs which can only take a fall till like 3 blocks. They also take half of the normal fall damage that most other mobs take. In the earlier concept builds of Minecraft, villages were not populated by villagers. Instead, they had pigmen, which are these weird human-pig hybrids that were conceptualized before our current villager and the zombie pigmen that we know today. The Sniffer won the 2022 mob vote. The reveal video had 2 tiny animated characters that were modeled on real Mojang developers. Tiny Jens and Tiny Agnes were the 2 characters, based on lead designer Jens Bjergensten and game director Agnes Larsen. The color that a frog has in the game is completely decided by the temperature of the biome it grew up in as a tadpole. And if a frog somehow eats a magma cube, the frog light it produces is colored based on which of the 3 magma cube color variants it ate. A ghast only notices the player and starts to hurt him when it's almost at the same height as them. So if you fly above or below their eye level, you might just never become a target. The cave spider is the only spider in the game that can poison you, and they are small enough to slip through a barely half-block tall gap, which is impossible for normal spiders. The rare blue axolotl cannot be bred on purpose. It is literally a 1 in 1200 probability that you have no control over, and even the color of the parents doesn't matter in this. The other 4 colors breed normally, but blue is pretty rare and simply cannot be guaranteed. The squid was the game's very first water mob. Introduced in 2011, it came out so early that at that point, the oceans were just empty water with squids floating around in them. The blaze is quite an interesting piece of lore attached to it. So, according to Mojang's own official lore piece, Visit the Nether, blazes are sentient beings made of pure lava. They were originally created by the ancient builders of the Nether Fortress to serve as guards, but then the creators lost control of them and were eventually destroyed by the blaze itself. If you put a chest on a monkey, consider it to be stuck there for eternity. The only way to get it back is to kill the donkey, though a chest on a donkey gives you 15 extra slots to keep your loot in. Wolves are for real afraid of strong llamas and will actively run away from them on sight. They will refuse to attack unless the llama's ranged spit provokes them first. If you leave a regular skeleton standing in powdered snow for around 22 seconds, it turns into a stray and starts shooting arrows of slowness that you can also pick up to shoot at your enemies. This is also a mechanic that most players don't really trigger on purpose. Every night around dusk, the wandering trader secretly drinks a potion of invisibility to hide from monsters and protect itself, but forgets that the llamas it has leashed stay in full view. So that's a funny sight when it randomly shows up with 2 llamas. They just drinks milk the next morning specifically to cure that invisibility to start trading with players again. The copper golem, like real copper, slowly starts to rust, and after a while it just becomes an immovable rusted solid statue, ending its life as a mob. But if you scrape it with an axe or zap it with lightning, you can bring it back to life. The wind attacks of the breeze can press buttons and flip levers, which technically makes it the first mob that can work with redstone by manipulating its components remotely. A wither skeleton normally only has around a 2.5% chance of dropping its own skull, but if it is killed by a creeper with a lightning charge explosion, that chance jumps straight to 100%, and you are guaranteed to get a wither skeleton skull. This is the most varied mob in the entire game. It has 3,584 possible multiple colors and pattern combinations. Before 2018, fish was just an item you would catch in the game, but then cod came out as the first fish you would actually watch as it swam. If you take a strider out of lava, it turns bluish purple and starts to shiver. It even grows a beard like brown and can even take damage from rain while standing on lava. The camel is the only mob that can see 2 players at the same time, and because it is so tall, most of the hostile mobs cannot reach you while sitting on top of it. So only Zoglins, Wardens, and Withers can attack you in this situation, along with Vindicators renamed Johnny because they attack everyone. And if you want to see all the April Fool's updates in Minecraft, click the video on your screen now.